Good day. So the following video will be emphasizing on educational psychology, on how it helps one to be a reflective teacher, and also on neuroscience learning, especially on the part whereby one has to understand parts of the brain. And oh, by the way, my name is Hotatso Pala. So with that out of the way, we'll start with educational psychology. So South African teachers are mostly at a huge risk or are having a hard time on their hands because of they teach different learners from different cultures with different learning styles, and the number of learners in their classes makes it a huge task to actually understand how learners operate and how they think or how they actually keep on trying to study. So, uh, educational psychology was actually invented because they wanted to give teachers knowledge or sight on different kind of learners and how they interpret their working styles and their learning environments in school settings. So educational psychology is a scientific discipline that uses psychological constructs and research methods on how to understand the various characteristics of learners, teachers, students, even educational settings that communicate to produce the everyday behavior that we see in school settings. So with that said, one might ask on how educational psychology actually helps one to be a better teacher. So knowing that teaching is kind of a complex field that needs research and that actually needs a whole lot of competence and has a lot of coursework. So educational psychology offers or provides us with the factors that actually affect teaching and learning. It also offers useful and tested ideas so that it can improve instruction, and it also prepares learners and teachers so that they can be effective and competent when it comes to their work course or coursework. Moving on to the neuroscience learning, especially parts of the brain, as I mentioned. So we all know that the brain has the left hemisphere, the right hemisphere, just in the cerebrum, and it also has the hypothalamus, the thalamus, the medulla oblongata, and all the other 17 parts of the brain. So right here I have a cross section of a brain that I've made using egg cut boxes. So it represents, actually it shows the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, the temporal lobe, the cerebellum, and the spinal cord. So we're going to start with the frontal lobe. So the frontal lobe is basically, its function is to actually process information, especially when it comes to memory, planning, decision making, creativity, even in goal life planning. So, and it also contains the primary motor cortex that regulates muscular movement. And then when it comes to the parietal lobe is for, its function is for the sense of touch, and it also regulates the body position, and it also integrates with visual image. And then when it comes to the occipital, this one is for image. It only works with color, the visual, the length or the distance of the picture that your eyes are actually trying to see. So when it comes to the temporal lobe is responsible for processing auditory information, and it's also responsible for emotions, feelings, and all that stuff. So moving on to the cerebellum. The cerebellum's function is it's positioned at the back of the brain, and it is responsible for balance, muscular control, movement, and even body posture. And then all these parts have a function to play in the brain, and all the things that we do in daily life, they're actually a system, a kind of system that goes in and out of the brain, and then the brain decides on what you want to do and what you don't want to do. What I've learned during this creative process is that one has to actually study the brain in order to understand different kinds of people in this world, and also that the brain somehow works on its own. And personally, I've also learned that the cut box actually makes clay if you mold it the right way. So even if I have learned a bit, I I still have questions about the brain, especially about why is it that human beings can't actually use 100% of their brain capacity, and if that it's not possible, how dangerous is our brain? So, one aspect or one interesting thing that I've learned about the brain is that one can learn how to control it. So I have tried to actually control it and see if, especially when drinking water, and then cool down a bit and see if uh, the brain responds well to the kind of liquid that I've taken into my system. Well, if even though it doesn't work much, but yeah, thank you.